Hi, welcome to Career Chat. I'm your host, Jean South, and on Career Chat, we talk about navigating your career with purpose and intention. Today, I'm very excited to be joined by my friend Sandy Clitter, who is the president of Your Tech Tamer. She's navigated her career with purpose and intention, listening to herself, learning along the way, and doing some things that weren't exactly the norm for her time and era as she was developing and forming her career. And I'm fascinated by your story and by the opportunity just to get and sit and share with a lot of people how awesome you are. So thank you for joining me.
Oh, thank you for having me, Jean. It's a great honor to be here.
So Sandy, for our listeners, talk to them about Your Tech Tamer. Tell us about your business, what you do, who are your clients, all those good things.
Your Tech Tamer was founded 20 years ago next year, so
congratulations.
My 19th year. Thank you. We help businesses mine the data that's in their business better. Not the big data thing you hear all the time, but really useful information, what it takes you to run your business. You gather information all day, and you need to be able to look at that information in concise, succinct ways.
Yeah.
So we make data one-buttonable.
That's great. That's really important as a business owner myself. I know that having the information is great, but if you can't access it and do something with it and make a decision, it's no good.
Computers hold it hostage.
They do.
By and large. They hold it hostage.
They do.
And it's your data. You have a right to it, yes.
I love that.
In the format you want it.
I love that.
And if you want it in purple, you should have it in purple.
Exactly as you want it. I love it. Yeah. So talk to us about your path from, starting out looking at, big business is the way to go, and now being in a position where you are really passionate about small business owners and helping them grow their business.
First of all, I'm older than dirt. Dinosaurs walked the earth when I started in my career. No, well, but compared to a lot of your guests and things in the past, yeah, it is. When I first started in business, number one, women weren't in business a huge amount. Yeah. Women were certainly not in management roles. And computers were just making the entry into the scene. They didn't really exist. I always say I'm an accidental technology person. I wasn't trained to be here originally. I didn't come out of the womb with my fingers on a keypad like kids do today. So when I first went into business, fax machines were $4,000, kid you not, hand to God.
Oh my God.
And FedEx didn't exist.
Wow.
So we've come a long way.
Yeah.
And when computers first came into business, they came in to the accounting office.
Yep.
My background is that I was a CFO.
Okay.
And so they came into my office, the machine was there, I was here, I looked at it, it looked at me, and I said, one of us is going to win, and it's going to be me. So I started learning how to work with that machine that I knew was making my life better.
Right.
I knew it could gather all these numbers up, and it could crunch them, and it could spit them out in a different way, but it wasn't doing it the way I wanted it to do.
Right.
So I started learning this very new-fangled thing called a spreadsheet. And it was in something called Crystal, which preceded Lotus 1-2-3, which preceded Excel.
Yeah.
And learning about how to interact with machines.
Right.
When I first entered, I should back up. When I first came into the business world, my family was all out of big business. My father was an executive vice president of a Fortune 500 firm. It was expected that I was going to go into business in that arena. But I saw the toll that big business took on my dad.
Yeah.
And I saw the fact that he wasn't really present in my life a lot because of that and because of his work obligations. It sort of soured me on it.
Yeah.
So when I came out of college and I was looking for a job, I actually deliberately looked to smaller businesses. And I was able to land a job as what grew out of a bookkeeping job into a vice president of finance job with a small family-run business.
So really fast, tell me how you found opportunities with smaller businesses, because that's one of the interesting challenges is everyone knows big companies' names, and so everyone thinks to go there to get hired because we all know the 5 biggest companies in our geographic region. Figuring out the small businesses and which one of them is hiring is actually not intuitive.
And it's not easy. Small businesses don't do a good job of saying we need help.
Right.
they might think they're saying it, but they're really not saying it. Back then, remember, dinosaurs walked the earth, so we're talking about some very different times.
Yeah.
But back when dinosaurs walked the earth, there were things called classified ads, and you opened up the newspaper every Sunday,
So
and
you
looked
went
through
searching.
the classified ads. I went searching, and I happened to be lucky enough to find. I looked in a local paper, not the equivalent of the Philadelphia Inquirer. We're in the Philly area here,
Right.
but of a local paper, a regional paper, penny savers, town talks, those
Right.
kind of things. Smaller businesses can afford to advertise in those, and sometimes they do. Nowadays, Craigslist, Craigslist job postings,
Right.
because not every job is for a top tier manager level, and certainly if you're just entering the business world, you're not qualified to do that.
So you thought about where are these businesses hanging out, the people who I want to work with, and it was who do I want to work with, where do they hang out, let me go where they hang out and see what I can learn.
And it's talking to the people in your neighborhood. Who
Okay.
do you know who owns a business? Who do you know is complaining that they need help? Who is a manager in a small business? What are they looking for? What type of work are they looking for?
Right.
I got very lucky. But it's not just luck,
It's
because
not
you
just
have
luck.
to be looking as well.
You
and
were
have to
thinking it through and being intentional with it.
trying.
Yeah.
I didn't know those words then.
Right.
They didn't exist in the lexicon back then.
Right.
But I was just trying to find a job that would pay me. I understood I wasn't going to be making as much money as I would in one of the larger companies.
Right.
But the work-life, personal life balance trade-off was important to me.
Yeah.
Because I felt that I had already paid my dues in that arena as a kid.
You lost that as already.
Right. So I wanted to be in a place also where my contributions would be noticed if I were absent. And that was very important to me. It was
Yeah.
very important to me that I not become a number, that I not become an employee ID, and that there weren't 6 of me waiting in the wings to fill my position, because I wanted to be valued. I wanted to feel valuable, and I wanted to feel like I was making a difference to the business I was working in.
So you wanted to actually see that direct impact
Yeah.
that you were having and be able to recognize that you did make a difference, see your management, see you as making a difference,
Right.
and feel that impact real directly.
Right, and it happened because I came in as a bookkeeper at a very, very low rate of pay, working not great hours because it was a retail environment, so there were nights and weekends, and as the bookkeeper, I had to cover the floor sometimes.
Yeah.
Because that's what you do in small business.
Yeah.
You can't wear only one hat. You have to be versatile. You have to be willing to say, oh, I'll help you rack samples if
Yeah.
that's what needs to happen.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to participate. In a small business, it takes everybody pulling the same way, and just because your job description is X doesn't mean you won't be doing Y. So if you're like me and you like variety in your life and you don't always want to be doing the exact same thing, small business is
Small
perfect.
business is perfect.
Because one day they're going to have you at a meet the community day,
Right.
that they have a table and a wheel and meeting
Yep.
the kids and handing
Yep.
out candy, and the next day you're going to be in your office crunching numbers.
Awesome.
You know.
Awesome. Okay, we have to take a break. I can't believe we're already at commercial break. When we come back, we're going to continue talking with Sandy about this passion around small business and how to shape a career in the small business world. Welcome back to Career Chat. We're chatting with Sandy Clitter. She's the president of Your Tech Tamer. And before we went to break, we were talking about the fact that as she was navigating the early years of her career, she made some really strong decisions around wanting to work with small businesses rather than in big business. And that eventually led to her starting her own company, where she does continue that small business outreach even today. So let's talk some more. We were talking about the fact that you really sought out small business, partially because you didn't want to lose the life balance that you saw your family lose, as well as the fact that you like the variety in small business and the fact that you do a little bit of everything. Talk more about the opportunities that variety presented for you.
I think that being able to try my hand at things I didn't really know or understand, like I'm salesophobic, for lack of a better term.
Right.
I you put the word sales in front of anything or marketing and I freeze, but if you just tell me I'm going to have a conversation with somebody, I'm fine.
Right.
Because technically being here would be sales or marketing,
Right.
but it's not to me. It's having a conversation with Jean, so it's fine. But being in a small business allowed me to try my hand at things I had zero experience or I was very, very uncomfortable doing.
Right.
And when you're young and you're developing, you really need to do that because that helps make you more well-rounded and you
Right.
become more versatile. And when you're versatile, you're valuable.
Yeah.
And as the business grows, you then move up the food chain naturally because they don't have to look outside for the talent.
Right. They've seen
got
you
it
growing.
already. So for instance, in the company that I started out in, the person who did the operations management, I was in the finance side, the person who did the operations management left. And operations, your business failed. It was a floor
Yeah.
covering company. The business stops if you
Yeah.
don't have operations. Rather than going outside to hire an operations person, they said to me, Sandy, would you do it?
So bookkeeper, now operations.
Now operations. So I moved from being, I moved up from bookkeeper. I had some financial title. I don't know what it was. It's unimportant. Titles are unimportant. But I moved into being the VP of operations
Yeah.
for a period of time. Didn't like it.
Right.
But my very first day, I'm like, okay guys, take me out in the field. I've got to understand what you do to be able to run your day,
Yeah.
to be able to schedule you and so forth. I think it's really important to understand all aspects of a business, all phases of a business, because then you understand the why of what you're doing. You understand that if you don't do X, Y will fail.
Yep.
In large businesses, I think a lot of that gets lost.
Right.
But when you're in a small business, there's a direct
You
A
have
and B
to
effect.
understand. You
If
have
I
to
fail
know.
to show up here today
Right.
for this, you're talking to yourself.
Right. Right.
In small business, it's very similar to that.
Yeah.
Where if you fail to show up, you're letting down a whole bunch of people.
Yep.
And if you really want to feel like you're making a difference,
That's a
what
great
better
way
way?
to do it.
What better way?
And then I think that's interesting where you talk about, the operations. Now you're understanding a lot of different pieces of the business, which is what you do now with your clients. You first understand their business. So how did you go from operations into running a business that really focuses on the data behind the business and giving people what they need there?
Well, I have to continue the career trajectory
Yeah.
a little bit. I moved from the family-owned mom and pop shop to a slightly larger, also floor covering company that was bigger, challenged more of my abilities.
Right.
It was still family-owned. It was just 10 times the size.
Right.
So I got things on scale, and I learned to manage multiple legal entities and all that kind of stuff that's boring and dull. But there's where my career got really interesting.
Right.
Because my company got bought by a larger company. Which was a Fortune 500 company, exactly what I had
And
said
exactly
I
what you
didn't
avoided.
want. But I said, okay,
Yep.
I'm going to try this.
Right. Right.
It's my path right now, so I'm going to try this. So, new company comes in, they want to implement a new computer system. By that point in time, I had already implemented 3 computer systems, so they watched me implementing their system. They needed to do it in 84 locations across the United States, and they pulled me up into corporate and said, we want you to be the director of IT for the new division that we just formed, where we took over 84 locations across the United States. And I went, really?
Are you?
Me?
That's
That's what you
awesome.
want? And
That's
I'm
awesome.
like, okay, sure, I'll
Yeah.
do it. And it put me on the road 250 nights a year. I had 200,000 domestic air miles in 1 year. I was,
And that's a life some people love.
it is.
But knowing
Absolutely.
you, I also know
Absolutely.
that that's not something that sticks for
It sits very well for some people. I'm an introvert, not so good for an introvert.
you. No.
I knew that I didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to bother with the story here, but I ended up giving my notice and deciding that I was leaving with no plan. Okay?
No
Hear
plan.
that. Zero plan. You're all about intent and purpose.
I am.
This is zero
None.
plan. This was Sandy getting annoyed and finally having had it up to here and just saying, I quit. I give you 3 months notice, but I'm quitting.
But something important here that I do want to pull out is you were in a position where you were no longer aligned to the mission of the organization. You'd always set out to be about the smaller businesses, and now all of a sudden you're building Fortune 500. Right. So while you say there's no plan and it's you being annoyed, you were annoyed because it was rubbing against one of your core life values and one of the things that mattered to you.
But I couldn't have put words to it.
You couldn't have, but that's what happened. Looking back.
Right.
And that's why it is so important that we do think about purpose and intention, because when you feel that rub, there's a reason. And it's that purpose mission mismatch that starts to rub.
Right. So I left and I decided I needed a mental health break. I had a bonus coming to me from the prior year's performance. Yay.
Yay.
And I said, I can live on that for 3 months.
Yeah.
So I left and I took the summer off. My last day was the Thursday before Memorial Day. I had no plan. Get that. No plan.
No plan.
But I did have a check in the bank, so I was okay. And I said, I'm just going to take the summer to recuperate, evaluate, and come up with a plan. Well, the thing that happened, ironically, is that all my vendors that I had been dealing with on this national project started calling me, asking me to come to work for them. Mm-hmm. And I realized it was all project-based work. They assured me that there would be work after the projects, but you know how projects go. Not always, that's not necessarily reality. So all of a sudden, come about, I don't know, August, I realized that I actually had 6 job offers without having put together a resume or looking for a job, but they were all in very similar field. It was project management kind of work. It was implementations, system implementations. And I thought of that and I said, I can work for all of them. Mm-hmm. I'm going to make my own business. No business plan, no idea, but I started doing it. The first problem came when somebody asked me to send them an invoice, please, and I didn't have a company name.
Yeah. I'm
like, oh no, I need a company name. Everybody, this is the way you don't start a business.
This is the way
just so you know, this is the way you don't start a business. But I acted on it and I got a name. It wasn't this one. It was my initials. And I began building that business, and I began serving the people I really wanted to serve, because while I contracted with a lot of companies who were larger, their clients who I was serving directly were smaller.
Right.
So I was working my way back
to where you started.
And I did that for a while. I was still on the road, but at least I was on the road for myself. And then I sort of started looking for other opportunities and other places I could make a difference.
Right.
And bringing it back more locally, started developing relationships. Now, everybody who's traveled a lot or moved a lot, as you do in the military, knows that it's very hard to form local relationships. Yeah. And I was a road warrior. I didn't have local relationships. But I started trying to build some local relationships and find local clients. I'm like, if I'm doing this coast to coast, why on earth can I not find a client in Philadelphia?
Right.
I mean, seriously, there has to be a client in Philadelphia. And I got the first one. Yeah. And then I'm like, oh, yay!
Yes, they're there.
It was Wilmington, but it's the same.
Okay.
It's close.
That's awesome.
I can drive to it in the morning. I don't need to get on a plane. Yay! And it allowed me to use your terminology, to align myself. Yeah. I wasn't thinking of it that way, but with what made me comfortable. Because obviously, if you're comfortable in your own skin, you do a better job.
You do. All right, we have to take a break. I hate cutting this awesome conversation. We'll be right back, and we're going to talk a little more about, now that Sandy had her career aligned with her purpose and was back in really her zone of genius, how she continued to grow as a business owner, which is a different beast than necessarily working for someone else, even in the small business realm. Welcome back to Career Chat. We're talking with Sandy Clitter, president of Your Tech Tamer. We were just talking about your move back to small business and how that really was your purpose realigning with the work you were doing. Talk now about the process of being a business owner and where you get support, because that's hard.
It is. It's very, particularly if you're a solopreneur, and I have contract people who work with me, but I'm it, and it all comes across my desk. It gets very lonely, and it is hard. And for 10 years, I just gutted it out on my own. And all of a sudden, we don't have time for the story. I ended up finding an organization called the National Association of Women Business Owners, NAWBO for short. I ended up going to a meeting. I don't like networking. No, it's like sales, marketing. No, I don't do that. But I went to a meeting. You are only a stranger in those meetings the first time you go, and for about the first 5 minutes, and then you're embraced and you're enveloped. There are organizations like that for people in any walk of life. Women business owners, I strongly recommend.
Yes.
Join NAWBO.
Yes.
It is a phenomenal, dedicated group of women who are there to support you.
Yeah.
And that's the key. Not
not
out
about
to make
getting-
sales.
Yeah.
You've got to go to resupply yourself.
Yep.
Because when you're doing it on your own, you need to find energy sources and support and cheerleaders who are not in your daily surround.
Yep.
And I have found the most amazing group of people who I can pick up the phone and go, "You're not going to believe what just happened to me today. What do I do?"
Right.
And they can
They're
call me
there.
and do the same. And they're there for you.
Yep.
They're there for you. Those kind of organizations exist for all kinds of people. I don't mean to be excluding men in any shape or form, but
that's
NAWBO
who
is not
you
for them.
attach to. That's
Right,
the
I
group
attach
that
to
was
NAWBO, so it's the
amazing
one
for
I can
you.
speak
Absolutely.
to. And I just said, you know what, I'm uncomfortable doing this because I don't walk into rooms of people, but I'm going to do it because I love the women I meet. And then I can meet them on the side at Starbucks and have coffee, and I can have the conversations I need to have to really invigorate myself. And they will help me.
Yeah.
They will suggest. They will direct. So when and if you go out on your own, you need to develop those kind of support. But if you're working in a small organization, you still need to do that because you might not get the management and the other people in your organization might not be able to feed all those aspects for you. So years ago, I joined the Chamber of Commerce on behalf of my company, but I got involved with the Small Business Committee.
Right.
And I sat on the Small Business Committee, and I helped direct some of the policy changes and the requests of local legislators and things like that to help. I was struggling with that word. To help drive the conversation, because small business is feeding the country now.
Yeah.
And there are so many job opportunities in small business, and is it perfect? No. Is any job perfect? No. Is it perfect when you own your own company, Jean?
Right. I mean, not this week. Maybe next week.
Maybe next week. Some days are great. Some days are tough.
Right.
It's reality.
Yeah.
Same thing if you're working for somebody.
Yep.
Small or
there's different
working for
risks and
Google.
rewards everywhere, right?
Absolutely.
And in all of the different places you can work, you could find a place where you don't have a job tomorrow and your income goes away, or you're elevated and you become wealthy beyond means. Those options exist in different pockets. And all of the different risks and rewards, there's places where you can be satisfied in your soul, and there's places where you can give your soul away. There's places you can be home with your family, and there's places you can be on the road 24/7, right? That exists in all of these fields.
And there's chocolate and vanilla. Both are right.
Yeah. And
both are right.
And it's about knowing what is right for you.
Yeah.
So you have navigated this path. You may not have really recognized what you were doing, but you were listening to yourself.
Surprisingly so.
Yeah,
apparently.
And able to hear yourself say, "This isn't right for me," and go back to your roots of what you really were about. You built your business. You had a chance to really envelop yourself in other entrepreneurs and other business owners who supported you. Obviously, I'm in awe of you and your path. You've been a wonderful friend to me and helped me on my path too, which has been great. We're at the end. Tell people, what do you need them to hear? What's the most important piece of this interview for our viewers? And then let them know how they can get in touch with you, what kind of support you offer, and where they can reach you. Look at the camera to do that.
Follow your own heart. And when your heart says that this isn't comfortable, it's probably saying it for a reason. It doesn't have to do with money. It doesn't have to do with fame. It doesn't have to do with recognition. It has to do with meeting your life needs and follow that. Don't only look to Google and Apple, who are wonderful companies, but don't only look to them, because there is a world of small business out there which has opportunities for you, but you're going to have to go looking harder because they can't afford huge placement fees out of headhunter firms. So go knock on the door, introduce yourself, say, I really like what your company stands for. Do you have an opportunity for me? And find a support organization that speaks to you like NAVA does for me, so that you have cheerleaders in your corner. You have people to envelop you, celebrate with you, cry with you, and watch you lead your amazing life.
Awesome. And how can people get in touch with you?
Oh, people can get in touch with me at yourtechtamer.com, YOURTECHTAMER, like a lion tamer. There's a contact us page, and I'll get back to you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for joining us today, where we've talked about how Sandy navigated her career with purpose and intention, and the way that we can work with small businesses, and small businesses offer great opportunities for you to learn more about yourself, and they might be a great fit for you in your career. Thank you again for joining us, and until next time, go live your purpose.